Talk about something that still bothers me. I feel like sharing because you guys were really validating on some of my other weird random thoughts. I want to circle back and go way vintage back to Heche. Y'all remember her? Now, she was like a star in her own right, but then she started dating Ellen right after Ellen came out, and it was like a big deal because they were like an open couple and all that kind of stuff. And everybody made a big deal about that relationship and whatever. It doesn't matter. I want to talk about that poor woman's death. So, I don't know the ins and outs. I'm not a celebrity, and I don't know any celebrities. So let's start there. But when Anne Heche died, what threw me off was how quickly cameras were on it, like immediately. It had all this footage, and they knew exactly who was in the car, and they knew exactly what happened. And they were like, oh, she's got to be on drugs or intoxicated or whatever. And they interviewed people that were like, she wasn't. She was just here, and she was fine. Her speech wasn't slurred, and she wasn't acting crazy at all. She was fine. And, like, they had painted this picture that Ellen had, like, dodged a bullet. Like, oh, it's so tragic that Ellen lost the love of her life. But, like, thank God she got away from her because she's just so unstable. Poor Anne Hayes, she's unstable. But, like, was she, though? Anyway, not for me to say, not for you to say, not for any of us to say. What bothered me, and this is where I need fire EMS, I need y'all to chime in. They immediately had a chopper on it, and they were following it. Like, okay, so what ended up happening is, like, this car goes flying by. Like, they catch it on a ring camera. It's like, whoosh. And they're like, oh, the car was exceeding over 100 miles an hour. It was crazy. And then it hit a house or a building or something. But then they said that the car burst into flames. Like, the whole thing was on fire. So fire was called. And the whole time they have, like, a helicopter following the situation. And they're all flying overhead. And they're like, oh, this just in. Anne Heche was in a horrible car wreck. And they broke into, like, live TV. And they're like, this is so tragic. And I remember thinking, like, how do they know that's Anne Heche that fast? Like, how do they not know that that's just not just somebody who, like, got drunk or fell asleep or whatever, the car short-circuited? Like, who knows, right? Like, how do they know that's Anne Heche? And then the car's on fire, but, like, immediately they're able to go up to the car. And I'm like, if it's a car, it's going to have gas in it. It could explode. It could do a lot of things. They got to clear the area, get people out of there. Am I wrong? And then what's even weirder to me, and I know lots of firemen, so, like, this strikes me as super odd, is as they're flying above filming this whole thing happening, the car's extinguished at this point, or so they're claiming, but even still, it would be a hot spot, so, like, you wouldn't have your team go too close to it. Like, I think there are protocols to that. Okay, so, like, these firemen, in full firemen, fire people, humans, whatever you want to call them, in full outfit, hat, the whole thing, are like, acting super weird, and I was like, I don't know a single fireman. Maybe that's because of where I live, like, they just don't act like that around these parts. Like, they would never be posing almost like a Vogue video, like, and it was all from the air, so it was also a weird angle. They kept it on the whole time. And they were like, oh, this just in, Anne Heche has died. She died. She didn't make it. And I was like, how do you know that? And then what also threw me off is there was fire trucks and ambulances there. Not a single medical person was ever in frame. It was always fire the whole time, and, like, in the full fireman outfit. So this isn't like a weird crossover. Like, they're firemen, and they put her on the gurney, which was like a body bag, and I was like, I bet she ain't even in that bag. But then, to my horror, as everybody else watching, they're just about to the ambulance, they're about to get her in there. She comes ripping out, like, clawing her way out of this body bag. She's flailing about. She's completely nude. Why is she naked? And then they push her back down, get her in the ambulance, and they leave. And they're like, oh, yeah, we'll keep you updated. And then they, like, stop. They don't want anybody else to talk about it. And I'm like, okay. I got so many more questions. Because if your skin is truly burned like that, okay, let's go backwards. Why was no medical person with her? Even if she was deceased, why wasn't there anybody medical with the corpse? Or deceased, right? And I was like, also, so then they try to tell us later it wasn't a body bag, it was a burn bag because she was burned so badly. And if that's a real thing, somebody chime in and tell me, because I don't know nothing about those. So, like, if that's a real thing, tell me. Shut me down. Fix these pocket holes I have. Tell me what's going on. Is that real? And if that is real, and she did spring out of it, why would you touch her and push her back down? Like, they touched her body and pushed her back down. And also, when she lurched forward, you saw her whole spine, because she was just naked as a jaybird, and her whole spine, she was, like, charred, but not burn. And like, I don't know a lot about burns. I don't know a lot about burns, but like, I would assume if you're burned, this is like common knowledge to me, don't touch them because you could give them an infection. You could do something. You could hurt them. So why this fire person like put their hands on her and push her back down? That can't be okay. And wouldn't you push straight through the skin? And if she really was burned, wearing clothes, driving the car, which I assume she was dressed since people had just seen her and she was dressed, wouldn't the clothes have like melted to her skin, not just disappear and incinerate? Like, I don't understand. And if that was the case, how come she still has hair? If it was burning at such a level that her clothes just burned off of her body, how does she have hair? And like, did you get her out of the car and cut her clothes off of her? That doesn't make sense to me. There's so many things that don't make sense to me. But instead, the world was like, oh, poor Aunt Heche, and just moved on. Just moved on. She had kids. What are we doing? I don't understand. Something doesn't add up. I'll see if I can figure out how to sync up like a video so that like you can see what I'm talking about. I assume it's Googleable unless they've, I don't know anymore. But like maybe somebody else remembers this from back in the day and they can fill me in on like what I'm not understanding. And I don't know a lot. So by all means, teach me, educate me. If that is standard protocol to not have a single medical person anywhere near the body, even when they've gotten it away from the fire. And like, then also if you were going that fast, I mean, the car was like, shoo! If it was going that fast, why wasn't it in the building? Like, why was it just like parked in front of the building, burned? Why wasn't it in the building? And how did we all know it was Aunt Heche so far? Like, it was just a blue car. How did you know that was Aunt Heche fast enough to get helicopters on it at that level to see them actively getting her out of this burning? Something doesn't make sense to me.